In conversation with Mónica Mancillas. Mónica Mancillas' award-winning books include Mariana and Her Familia, Junior Library Guide Gold Standard Selection, 2022 School Library Journal Best of Picture Book, The Warrior Ballon, How to Speak in Spanglish, September Target Book Club Peak 2024, America's Award Commended Title, Sing It Like Celia, Rhode Island Latino Book Award 2026 nominee, Taco Tuesday, Scholastic, and Leyendas, Legend, Chronicles, August 26, 2025. A book centered on themes of identity, culture, and mental health, while challenging those outdated tropes that have historically left Latin voices in the margins. Born in a small coastal town of Ensenada in Baja California, Mexico, Monica moved with her parents to the United States when she was 2 years old. As a child, she loved nothing more than to study and explore self-expression through writing and music. After graduating valedictorian from the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts, she earned a BA in Anthropology at the University of California at Berkeley, after which she moved to Los Angeles, where she worked for 10 years in the recording industry. Today, Monica lives in the UK, where she spends a day writing, reading, and tending to her much adored daughter, husband, and dog Annie. And on today's episode of our interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today, Monica Mancillas. How are you doing today, Monica? Lovely to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very well.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well that we are here to sit down and talk about your book. Quite exciting, really. So I want to say thank you once again for sitting up with me virtually. Thank you very much, really.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So Monique, I need to first say that I am really impressed by your book, and I know you've had quite a lot actually on going, the beautiful one in your background there, just one's on the shelf as well, quite amazingly. But then I'd like us to start with your titled Taco Tuesday, a wish novel. Now, I would like you to tell us about the making of this book, what inspired it, what was the first creative spark towards the making of it, and if you can run us through the background, the foundation, the making of Taco Tuesdays, that would be great. And I need to say that's actually a very nice title for a book.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was an interesting journey because I can't actually take credit for the original inspiration or even the title. My agent approached me and she heard that Scholastic was looking for a Latina writer to work on a book for their wish line. So they have this collection of books that are typically centered around food. Some of them are centered around animals, dogs, and pets, and that sort of thing. And they all have kind of a rom-com bent to them. So they're for the middle grade girl mostly, I would say, targeting the girl audience. And so they sent me a short paragraph with the basic concept of the book, and it was just a very basic kind of meat synopsis and sort of outline the book and fleshed it out a little bit more. And so honestly, I think whenever I'm writing a book, I especially when it focuses on themes of culture, I have a tendency to really want to push back against stereotypes. And there really is in the United States, you can see there were always these stereotypes about what it meant to be Mexican or what it meant to be Mexican American.
Yeah.
And so my initial thought was, okay, how can I create a character that is multidimensional and that pushes back against all of those ideas? And so this idea of Taco Tuesdays, which again is a very Americanized thing, you don't go to Mexico and have Taco Tuesdays. It's a very American concept. So I wanted to create this character. It was supposed to be written in dual point of view. So one
Oh,
character was the female character, one character was the male character, and they have this meet cute. So I created the female character first. Her name is
Mm.
Dulce, which means sweet in Spanish, and I thought it would be cute to give her kind of a food themed name.
Oh,
And gave her this background of having a family owned restaurant in Los Angeles, since that's where I had lived for 27 years and been
wow.
very familiar with Los Angeles culture and Southern California culture. Um,
Mm.
so I really wanted to give her family a lot of history, and so this restaurant that she cares deeply about has been there for 40 years, and it was founded by her bisabuela, which means her great grandmother,
Mm.
who came from Mexico with all these amazing recipes and traditions that aren't on the typical Mexican American menu. So when you think of Mexican
Mm.
food in the United States, you think of tacos, you think of burritos, you think of fajitas, which are kind of like a Tex-Mex
Mm.
tradition. But there's so much more to Mexican cuisine. Not that those foods aren't amazing, they are. But
Mm.
there's a lot more if you go, it's like any country or any part of the world. If
Yeah.
you travel through Mexico, different parts of Mexico have different food traditions and cultural traditions and
Mm.
landscapes. So so her family, when the story opens, her family's restaurant is in crisis mode because a fast food taco restaurant has moved in across the street and is now and they offer Taco Tuesdays and all the typical, tacos and burritos and all of that are on typical offer in an American Mexican restaurant.
Wow.
And so their family is trying to save their restaurant because their sales are down. They're not getting customers. And they are
Mm.
doing a whole revamp of the menu, and they want her to dress in a taco costume to greet customers. And they're, going to start offering Taco Tuesdays and all of these things that to her go against what her great grandmother had tried to create with this kind of Michelin star menu.
Mm.
So she's kind of butting heads with that idea of change. And then her sort of love interest, Julian, is also at a pivotal moment in his life because he's just moved from New York, and he's kind of your typical skater boy, and he's not used to being on Los Angeles. His parents, who are foodies and food vloggers, are also struggling and going through a separation. And so, they both meet when they're kind of in this angry, upset state.
Mm.
Um, and Dulce's family winds up offering a cooking camp to kids over the summer, and the two start out in competition, really butting heads, but then slowly kind of find their commonalities and find that they both love food and they're both very creative and passionate individuals, and
Mm.
this friendship slowly forms.
Wow.
And I also used it. It's very lighthearted. It's very funny. I loved creating this like very close knit Mexican family,
Mm.
and in Mexican families we joke a lot with each other. We have nicknames for each other. There's a lot of kind of teasing and razzing, and so I had a lot of fun creating that culture and environment.
Wow. I must say that that's such an amazing answer you've got in there. I love hearing you talk about the inspiration towards the making of Taco Tuesday. Quite beautiful and quite awesome, really. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. And now I'd like us to talk about Mariana and her familia, which I think it's quite beautiful. I mean, I will need to first say that I love your areas of titles and quite beautifully the way you have them on going from one part to another. But I'd like us to talk about Mariana and her familia because it's such a beautiful story about bridging culture and finding connection through family. Now, what inspired Mariana's story and also Mariana's hesitation about visiting her extended family resonates with many kids navigating bicultural spaces. Was there a moment in your life that mirrored us or inspired that as well?
Yes, yeah. So this book was actually my debut. It was the first book I
Oh,
had published through HarperCollins, and I
wow.
just should mention that the woman who illustrated the book, Erica Mesa, is actually she's Mexican like me, but she
Oh,
lives in
wow.
as well. She lives in London, so I
Mm.
think that's really cool that both of us wound up in the UK. But yeah, this book might as well have been called Mónica and Her Familia because it really is based on my own experiences as a kid. I was born in Ensenada, like you mentioned, in Mexico, but we moved to the United States when I was only 2 years old. and I visited my family frequently. They all still live there in Ensenada, but I felt this sense of embarrassment and shame whenever I would speak Spanish and make mistakes. I
Mm,
would, there's a moment in the book where Mariana accidentally calls her abuelita, which is her grandmother, agualita, and agua in Spanish means water. So she kind of gets the two words, abuelita and agua, mixed up. And her cousins laugh, not at her, but just it's a cute thing. And that happened to me on more than one
mhm.
occasion. So, um, and uh, as I read this story to kids around California, it definitely resonated, not just with the Spanish speaking kids, but I think any
Mm,
kid who has grown up in more than one culture
yeah.
and speaks more than one language has gone through that, embarrassment of feeling like maybe you're not speaking the language well enough,
Mm,
and you're not you don't quite belong culturally in one space or the other. So
that's true.
I really wanted to speak to those kids, and the overarching message of the book is that her family, and this is what I found in my life, was that my family loved me unconditionally, no matter what. They
Mm,
didn't care if I made mistakes, or if I brought in American traditions or didn't know all of the cultural traditions that they celebrate.
mm,
They didn't care at all.
mm.
They loved me. I was the baby that was born in their house, and they love me to this day. So I really wanted children to that are growing up with that sense to let go of any embarrassment they have and be proud of the fact that they have this very unique identity.
Oh, that's such an amazing answer to that, really. I loved it. And I can actually quite relate to because sometimes I'm not good with my father language.
Mm.
Yeah, but I understand my mom's language. And sometimes when I try speaking my dad's language, because he's from the southeastern part of Nigeria and my mom is from the southwestern part. Though Nigeria is quite big, we have different kind of tribes. And when I
Yeah,
start speaking Igbo, I make terrible mistakes that
yeah,
cause some people to start laughing like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." I'm like, "Yes, I know." So yeah, thank you.
yeah.
That's
It's
that's
like, and then you never quite grow out of it, even as an adult.
yeah,
Still, I
honestly
still,
speaking.
yeah.
Honestly speaking. I think it's an habit, really. I really do wish I am very good at it, but for some reason I'm just not. It's not my fault, basically. But anyway,
No, it's not, and it's something that I think we tend to forget, that it really is an amazing skill that we can speak more than one language. And I
yeah.
don't judge somebody else for speaking. If somebody
Mm,
speaks English to me or Spanish to me and they make mistakes,
mm,
I'm not judging. I think it's amazing that they can speak more
yeah.
than one language. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Now, you started out in the recording industry quite beautifully. Now, what inspired your transition into writing, particularly children's book? Was there a particular moment or experience that sparked the shift?
yeah, well, I always loved writing. Even as a
Mm,
kid, it was my favorite assignments in school were the writing assignments. I took
wow.
a lot of I took a lot of pride in writing essays or poems or whatever I was assigned to write. And I always had this, there were so many things I wanted to do. At one point, I thought I might be an anthropologist. I studied anthropology, and
Wow.
music was always a part of my life. So
Mm,
after college, after university, I decided to turn my attention to becoming a singer songwriter and move to Los Angeles to pursue that. But in the
wow.
back of my mind was always the idea that someday I'm going to write that novel that I've always wanted to write. And I had some, I took some classes here and there, and I had some, I had some false starts at trying to write novels and never really committing to it. And
Mm,
then when my daughter was born, I made the somewhat abrupt decision to leave my position in the recording industry and
wow.
focus on raising her, which I hadn't planned on doing. And there was this vacuum overnight of, I needed to express myself creatively somehow, but with a young
Yeah,
child, if you're the full-time caregiver, that's really, really difficult to do
it
without help.
is. Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time with her at the library. reading
Mm.
children's books, taking her to story time. We would read for hours every day. And
Wow.
it just kind of naturally came to be that I started having ideas for picture books.
Mm.
And I had never, as a child, I hadn't been an avid reader because I was raised by a single mother, and there just wasn't the time and money to go to the library or buy books. So it was like a living my childhood all over again and getting to read all of these
Mm.
amazing books. And I just started having ideas and writing down ideas. And I thought, I this is my passion. I loved it. I loved music, but I loved writing in a way that was just incomparable. I could spend every day writing or talking about writing. And so
Wow.
I made a decision that I was going to really put my all behind seeing if I could get published and have a career as a children's book.
Mm. Wow, I love your answer to that, really. It's so soothing and so beautiful. That's a beautiful transition, I like to call it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And also, I wanted to ask you, Monica, whether it is a picture book or a middle grade novel, your stories always seem to reflect real moment kids face. And I must say that that's such an admirable trait that I find to be quite common, more like a thread in your writing. Now, how do you decide which area or what turning into a full book or what guides your voice across different age groups? I would love how you navigate that to know. Yeah.
Well, my inspiration, they say it's very simple. They say to write what you know and to
Yeah.
start. And of course, we can all write from our imagination. We can write science fiction or fantasy. We can,
Yeah.
of course.
Poetry.
But I think, yeah, but even then, you have to draw from some kind of personal experience
Mm.
and then connect it to the universal. So I
Mm.
always try to find what is uniquely mine in a story, if I have a seed of an idea. And my stories can be inspired, like Mariana and Her Familia was very much inspired by my own childhood.
Mm.
Um, the Worry Balloon was inspired by difficulties, anxieties that my daughter was having during the
Mm.
pandemic. And uh, Sing It Like Celia, which was my debut middle grade book, was partly inspired by my own childhood because, of course, I grew up
Wow.
singing, and she's a singer. I grew up
Mm.
loving salsa music and was really into salsa dancing for a while.
Oh, wow.
That all plays into the book. Um, but I also was drawing from my younger sister's experiences in the
Mm.
book. Um, Salva, who is the main character, is her mom disappears overnight, and it's
Oh,
sort of
wow.
this mystery through the whole book. She doesn't know what happened to her mother, and I won't give it away, but it was my sister's story, is what it was based on, and so I wanted
Mm.
to write in both these cases of the Worry Balloon and Sing It Like Celia. I was inspired to write something that would help not only these children in my life who I love so much, but all the children who might be dealing with these very profound issues that
Mm.
children have to deal with, and sort of giving them a roadmap for how to navigate those feelings and experiences. So again, it always, for me, the kernel of a story starts with the very personal, and then I figure out what the universal is in that. What is the larger context, the larger story that
Mm.
my readers need to connect to?
Mm. Oh, wow. That's a beautiful one as well. Thank you. I must say, I love your answers to these questions, really. It sounds to me to be quite fun and quite awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. And I wanted us to shift now because you recently launched your dating and consulting business now, quite beautifully now. How did that come about and what motivated you to explore that part alongside your writing?
Well, one of the things that I love doing as a writer is talking to other writers. And again,
Mm.
I said it's my passion. It's the thing that I could spend all day talking about. And
Mm.
so I've offered myself as a mentor to people. I'm currently doing a mentorship with Picture Book Rising Stars.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I just find so much gratification in helping others, and whether they're kids, I love going to schools and talking to kids about writing or about my journey.
Mm,
And I love talking to other writers who are navigating this really emotional, difficult,
mm.
it's a wonderful industry, but it's challenging and it's difficult to
Very
break into.
challenging. Yeah.
So yeah, so I decided that I would try to dedicate some of my time, second to writing, to
Mm,
helping other writers to edit their manuscripts, or just the consulting I added because I love to just talk to people and answer any questions that they have, and
mm,
there are so many. And I know when I started in publishing, there were so many things that I just did not know. There's no manual, and you
mm.
don't get signed to an agent and then suddenly know everything. You have to really, it's a painstaking process of learning under fire. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I wanted to be able to offer my services to other writers in whatever stage of their career they might be in.
That's great. I'm gonna have to leave a website in the description part. Yeah, that would be very
Thank you.
great.
I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Monica, many of your stories are rooted in culture and language. Was that something you always knew you wanted to bring into your books? And as you continue writing, how do you strike the balance between telling culturally specific stories and ensuring that they resonate universally with readers from all backgrounds? I think I've got two questions in there, really.
Well, I can't say that I always knew that this was the direction my stories were going to go in.
Mm,
I think, again, as as I was starting to write, some of my stories I were humorous. Some of them were about themes that had nothing to do with culture and identity. And it's sort of trial and error as you're learning a new craft. You start writing and figuring out what resonates with other people. And
yeah.
it just happened that Mariana and Her Familia, and these stories that were more personal to me, were the ones that resonated more with people.
Mm,
um,
wow.
so I think, again, it's just a matter of finding one's voice and figuring out which of the stories you are meant to tell at that particular moment in time.
Mm,
Um, and of course, I'm always challenging myself. I'm working on dystopian books or rom-com. I'm all over the place, and so I don't think that
mm,
every book I write in the future will necessarily have those cultural themes. But I think that right now, anyone who knows what's going on in the United States and all over the world, really, but in the United States, Latina communities are being really, really targeted right now. And so I
yeah,
think that it matters now more than ever in
absolutely.
the case of book banning, and our books are being removed from shelves, and not given a chance to
Yes.
connect to the young readers who really need them.
Mm,
So I think it's really, really important now more than ever for us to continue writing those stories, even as
mm.
we branch off into other things, to give space to those voices that need them.
I love your take on that. That is very important. And I'm excited I even mentioned that in this. Quite great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works that you've authored or say currently working on?
Yeah. So we yeah, I think the only one that is already published that we didn't really talk about was How to Speak in Spanglish.
Mm,
Um, and this one was another sort of love letter to those of us who speak, uh, you know, more than one language, and sometimes mix them all together and get them mixed up. When
mm,
I was a kid, I used to, in Spanish, at least where I'm from, in Spanish,
yeah.
socks are called calcetines. And so I would accidentally call them saquetines, combine English
Mm,
and Spanish together. And again, it was a source of embarrassment for me. But in writing this book, I found for the first time a real sense of pride and ownership,
mm,
because I'm not the only one. There are people all over the world, and not just
yeah.
Spanish and English speakers, but people who speak Japanese and English speak
Yeah.
Japanglish. People
Mm,
from India, some people from India might speak Hinglish. Uh,
yeah.
so and I'm sure there are people who speak, I don't know, French and German or whatever languages it happens to be
Yeah.
that combine these two. It's a very universal experience among people who speak more than one language. And so it
Mhm.
really, the writing of that book helped me to take away any shame and actually exchange that for pride in this ability to code switch and go back and forth between languages.
Mhm.
And in terms of other projects, I do have two unannounced books that I can't talk a whole lot about yet because they haven't been announced. But one is a picture book, uh,
Mm.
which will be sharing the same space, talking about
Wow.
language and that sort of thing. And the other is a middle grade book.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's amazing to know that you've got a lot ongoing, and I particularly love your current work so far. To me, I'd like to say I love your current gallery of literature work, your
Thank you.
current gallery of books, quite beautiful and quite amazing. Commendable as well. Commendable as well. Thank you. Now, just in case we have some viewers who are watching this interview and would love to pick up any copy of any of your books, on what platforms are they available on for purchase?
Well, you can find links to purchase links to all of my books on my website, which is
Mm.
monicamancillas.com. And in the United States, they're available through all the major retailers like Barnes and Noble and Amazon, of course, which I'm not shopping on. Bookshop.org, which I love. And then in the UK, you can find most of them on the Waterstones website, but they're not in the stores yet. And of course, you can find them on Amazon or Bookshop in the UK.
Mm. That's great. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Monica Mancillas' book directly on Amazon and Barnes& Nobles on our website and also on other platforms. I also left a link to Monica's social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Monica, for joining me in this conversation around your amazing body of literature work. I must say that this is so exceptional, quite interesting, fascinating, and awesome. And I want to say thank you very much for joining me in conversation today around your amazingly written titles. Thank you once again.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well.